Part 3. Questions 21 to 35. In this part, you will hear 3 talks or lectures. There are 5 questions for each talk or lecture. For each question, choose the correct answer A, B, C or D. You will hear the talks or lectures only once. Questions 21 to 25.
You will hear a young man called Toby Wood talking on the radio about what it's like to work in the kitchen of a famous chef.
Now, listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
The young chef Toby Wood recently worked for 3 days in the kitchen of the well-known chef Oliver Ricks. Toby, what was it like?
It was a strange experience for me because when I finished college 6 years ago, I promised myself that one day I'd work with Oliver because I think he's an excellent chef. I was quite nervous about going to work in his restaurant kitchen, but I loved it when I got there. Although his team of young cooks are very busy and there isn't time to sit around and chat. At 7 a.m. when I started in the kitchen, I couldn't believe how quiet it was. The food preparation is very important, and on my first morning I cut vegetables. I had 2 problems. Cooking in professional kitchens is lovely when you know where things are, but I had to be told where everything was. Also, I didn't cut the vegetables as Oliver wanted. In Oliver's kitchen, you do things his way. Oliver has little tests for new chefs. One is the way you prepare the biscuits. There are 7 different kinds, and 2 of each kind are served with coffee. Oliver believes that an intelligent chef will decorate them beautifully and then put them in pairs on the plate. I'm glad to say I passed that test. Oliver is very calm in the kitchen and doesn't get angry very often. However, when it comes to putting food on the customers' plates, every second counts. The only time Oliver shouts is when that goes wrong. Each table's plates have to go out together, and if everything isn't ready, he'll just throw the whole lot away. Oliver's family have put cash into the business, so it's important that it's successful. I spoke to the kitchen staff to find out what they think about Oliver. They all say he's an excellent boss. When he shouts at them, they say it's for a good reason. In return for their hard work, they are well paid, and they learn a lot from him. When Oliver's young cooks have been with him for a few years, he likes to send them to the best restaurants in France to get more experience. Most realise it's a good idea, and will do that for a few months. They also know that when they've finished training, he'll help them start their own restaurants. Even after they leave his restaurant, he continues to give advice.
Questions 26 to 30. You will hear a talk about a pool and outdoor venue created by some people.
Now, listen carefully and answer questions 26 to 30.
Hey, if you're just joining us on WKPX The Sound, welcome. We're here in the studio with Matt and Cam in the morning, and this morning we're talking about keeping the kids occupied on summer vacation. Folks, there's a new kid in town in the world of summer fun. Get ready for the Pool of the People, a pool and outdoor venue created by, that's right, the people. Scheduled to open in November, the ideas for everything from the design of the pool right down to the items sold in the snack bar have been decided upon by a sample of 1,050 members of the public. The public selected 2 top proposals from over a dozen created by renowned architect Ned Mosby, and the final design is truly something else. The pool is shaped like a fishbowl, sinking down into the ground, and there's, you guessed it, a real live fish tank in the center. It's certainly the center of attention in the Bridgewater area. Now, you are probably wondering how much an extravagance like this must cost, right? Well, have no fear. At just £15 for adults and £10 for kids, it's an affordable way to entertain the kids in those dog days of summer. The only problem now is the possibility that it will in fact become too popular. The pool is only so large, so swarms of people coming to enjoy it may cause quite a crowd in its first summer of opening. There will be an opening party for a select audience, and in line with the pool's mission, the people have decided on all the arrangements. They collectively decided on actress Rebel Wilson to host in the festivities scheduled for later this month, and even dictated the playlist by ranking their top 10 songs from a list of hundreds. There is some discrepancy, however, on the sculpture design for the foyer at the entrance. The people elected a jellyfish sculpture to greet entering visitors, but given last week's vicious attack by a box jellyfish on a local youth, coordinators fear it will bring too much fear to patrons.
Questions 31 to 35.
You'll hear a girl called Tricia Simpkins talking at a public meeting about a plan to create a nature reserve in the centre of a large city.
Now, listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 35.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming to this public meeting which has been called to discuss the idea of creating a nature reserve in the city. That is, an area where wildlife is protected. And to begin with, local teenager Tricia Simpkins is going to tell us some of the background to the idea. Tricia.
Yes, hello. I'd like to start by saying that, like many city teenagers, I don't have much contact with the countryside. I live off a busy, polluted shopping street, full of people and cars in the middle of a crowded city, and I'd never given any thought to wildlife. Even though every house down my street has got a bit of a garden, and we have trees along the road and a piece of waste ground at one end, it seemed nothing out of the ordinary, and I took it all for granted. My attitude started to change when we had to do a survey of the wildlife in the city as part of a school project. We chose 10 families from the street and we asked them just to write down all the animals, birds, insects and so on that they could remember seeing in their garden or down the street during the last couple of years. All sorts of surprising things soon started coming out of that survey, like that we have 20 different sorts of butterfly, 50 different types of birds, and all sorts of animals, even some quite large ones like foxes and deer. At first we wondered what it meant, like, was it a world record or something? We'd no way of knowing. So what we did, we got in touch with a nature reserve out in the country and asked them what you could see there. And that's when we realised that we've as much, if not more, wildlife than they do. And that's what really got us interested in the idea of a nature reserve here. Because what worries us now is that we may be losing our local wildlife. One especially worrying thing has been all the cutting down of trees in the streets. We've got really big old trees here in this part of the city, and of course if one gets damaged in a storm or gets a disease, it has to be removed. But this year alone, over 100 of these trees have been chopped down. Now the reason given for this is that the trees have really extensive root systems, which makes it difficult for people laying gas pipes, electricity cables and things. But we think these problems are not as serious as they are made out to be, and there's no need for all this destruction. What's more, although the local council has agreed to plant new trees in place of the old ones, what they're planting are these little ornamental trees that look nice, but the birds and animals just don't use them in the same way. And they're not even saving money because more suitable trees cost just the same.